The success of any product is important to protect the reputation of the manufacturer. Marriage is God's product, and when marriage struggles, God's reputation is on the line. Hello, friends. This is Stella Sanobokelo, welcoming you to the Family Enrichment Hub, your center for family learning and for growth. Thank you for loving this channel. Thank you for promoting it. Thank you for sharing widely. I truly appreciate your contribution to where we are today. I want to be speaking about polygamy today and how it can affect and indeed create a storm within your marriage. Polygamy refers to an arrangement where a man takes on more than one wife at a time. And polygamy is as old as humanity because even in the old biblical times, there are recorded accounts of biblical patriarchs of faith who actually practiced polygamy. And polygamy presents in so many different faces. For some, they will find themselves tricked and lied to by a man, and you find yourself in a polygamous arrangement when you're already on the deep end of the mess because somebody has actually lied to you. For others, it's circumstantial polygamy where you agree together with your partner that you're going to run a monogamous arrangement, and then along the way, life happens and the wife chooses to walk away for one reason or another, and you also move on with another partner. And along the way, the first wife actually decides to come back to reoccupy her original position. You'll find yourself as a man actually running a polygamous arrangement which you originally did not intend to run. For others, it's deliberate. They just want to have more than one wife. They feel one wife is not enough to satisfy their sexual and their emotional needs. Why do people engage in polygamous marital arrangements? I was able to listen into so many different accounts of people who are actually living in polygamous arrangements, and these are some of the reasons that they fronted. Some men say there are too many women on the earth, and it wouldn't be fair for them to only have one wife and leave other women to be spouseless. So for others, that is a reason to actually take on an extra wife. For others, they said if the first wife is barren, they are obliged to take on a second wife who should be able to bear for them children. For others, they said their religious inclinations permit them to take on an extra wife. For instance, in Islam, men are permitted to take on up to a maximum of 4 women on condition that they can actually take care of all their needs very well. For others, it's a status symbol. Having many wives actually speaks to the fact that they are financially sound and able. For others, it's a case of poverty. You find a family struggling to get by with just meeting day to day requirements of the family. And so, that kind of family, parents easily trade off their daughters to go get married to wealthy men and be second and third and even up to fourth wives so that they can take care of their children. But by extension, these men will also be able to take care of the maiden families of the women that they marry. For others, they say they have a high sexual libido, which cannot be contained by just one woman. So those are the different reasons that men fronted for why actually they find themselves in polygamous arrangements. Like I've mentioned, polygamy is as old as humanity. Even in the biblical times, many of the patriarchs of faith were actually caught up in polygamous arrangements. For instance, the mighty King David. David had so many wives, and the disaster, the chaos that ensued in King David's life was just incredible. Then also his son Solomon. Solomon was also polygamous. In fact, it's recorded that he had 700 wives and 300 concubines. There are also others like Jacob, who married 2 sisters. And the disaster that ensued as a result of taking on 2 wives, and he went ahead to even engage in their maid servants, was just a total disaster. Away from that, there are others who also decided to take on the monogamous arrangement. For instance, Moses only had one wife, Zipporah. Isaac also had only one wife, Rebecca. And then Joshua also had one wife. And the apostles of Jesus in the New Testament all are recorded to have only had one wife. In the historical times, people took on extra wives because they looked at it as a way of promoting the economy. Farm work was the backbone of the economy and the wealth of the families. And so, for a man who had so many wives and so many children, that was an opportunity for him to have free labor, which can be able to till the land and produce a lot of food and thereby generate a lot of wealth for the family. So, biblically and historically speaking, those were the reasons why people actually took on extra wives. Allow me to share and volunteer some facts with regard to marriage within the Bible. The Bible tells us that marriage is God's idea. And we see this in the book of Genesis, chapter 2, verse 24, and Matthew, chapter 19, verse 5, where God explicitly gives us his intention for marriage. And he says, a man will leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. And what God has put together, let no man put apart. That is the intention of God, to have one man and one woman. So when God says the two will become one, in polygamy, 3, 4, 5, how do they become one? Another thing we need to appreciate is that God has designed everything to function as per laws which he has put in place. And so when you obey the laws which God has embedded in everything and every activity and every action, you're actually guaranteed success. For instance, when it comes to marriage, God has clearly put the blueprint. It is one man, one woman. So for those who follow the blueprint, you are guaranteed success within your marriage. We are also told that when you see a good pattern, for instance, within the Bible, don't let the exception to become the rule. A good thing in the Bible with regard to marriage is the patriarchs who followed the monogamous arrangement. For instance, Moses, Isaac, and the apostles. And the exception are the ones who took on more than one wife. And we see the disaster that happened in all their families. Look at King David, look at King Solomon, look at Jacob, and so many others. It was a disaster because of taking on more than one wife within their marriages. Polygamy was present in the biblical times, like I've mentioned, but it was not the preferred or the chosen alternative. You cannot love two women equally at the same time. Even the Bible tells us no man can serve two masters at the same time. Either he will love one and hate the other. When it comes to marriage, the principle is the same. Being married to two women or more at the same time, it's impossible for you to love them equally. And that in itself is a disaster for for competition. It's a disaster for trouble. It's a disaster for chaos within your family. No woman enjoys to share her husband or her man with another woman. That's why you see that even the ones who are comfortable, who enter an already established marriage, being comfortable being a second or a third wife, immediately they enter the arrangement. Why is it that they begin to struggle to offload the first wife that they have found so that they can become the true and the official wife? Why? Because no woman wants to share. Even the one who is coming in as a poacher, eventually she wants to wind up as the official woman. So let's take note of this. Women are not comfortable when men bring in a second and a third wife. You have brought chaos into your family. And also, let's just look at the case of what's good for the goose is also good for the gander. If it is good for you, have you ever pictured as a man the day your wife also begins to look at a second man and a third man? What would that make you feel? If you can picture the pain of imagining your spouse in the hands, in the love of another person who is not you, that should guide your decisions when you're considering taking on a second and a third wife. I once knew a gentleman many years ago who had a very distorted view of life. This man was married and he was not satisfied with his wife. He had so many other women outside whom he was really hitting on. But the unfortunate thing is that this man was not comfortable for his own daughters to fall prey to men who wanted to hit on them. And yet, what he was doing to other people's children, to other people's women, he didn't want it to happen to his own children. So, where is the fairness in this? You get away with wickedness, but you don't want the same wickedness to play out in the lives of your dear ones. That is the unfairness and the injustice in polygamy. Allow me share some of the consequences of polygamy. Polygamous marriages are chaotic marriages. Polygamous marriages are dysfunctional marriages. Women despise and fight each other endlessly. It's a daily war within polygamous families, and children get caught up in this mess. Murder, incest, and rape, as was the case of King David, and even today it is still happening. Murders are not news when it happens within polygamous arrangements. Women struggling to make sure that they are on the top, they are the favorite wife, struggling against the children of their co-wives is commonplace in polygamous arrangements. Witchcraft, women are in and out of witchcraft shrines looking for charms so that they can become the favorite wife or the official partner of the man in the picture. Jealousy, resentment, and hatred is the brand name in polygamous arrangements. Kids miss their fatherly love because they have to wait for their father's turn to come into their mother's house. Then they can have that time with their father. It's a very expensive arrangement to manage. I listened to one polygamist man who said for him to manage his three wives, when he's buying a car for one, he has to buy three cars. When he's changing furniture for one woman, he has to change furniture for all the three women. When he sends children abroad, he has to plan and make sure all the children of the other wives are also sent abroad. Just picture the financial implication of polygamy on a family. It's mentally exhausting to balance the needs of all these differently unique women within a polygamous arrangement. It's toxic for children to witness the fights amongst the mothers within a polygamous arrangement. And it's mentally exhausting when it comes to issues of inheritance. Who is going to produce the heir? Whose child, which mother is going to generate the heir that is going to administer the estate of the shared husband? Loyalty by the women becomes compromised because nobody is certain of their position in the heart of this man. Food for the man within polygamous arrangements, it is a very chaotic matter. Men in polygamous arrangements have eaten all kinds of charms, all kinds of garbage, all kinds of filth because women are struggling to be the center of attention of this one man. If you ask me, the consequences of polygamy are so dire, and it's important for all of us as parents to empower our children, and more so the girl children, not to become sexual objects for men within marriage. Let our children appreciate that they have value to bring to families beyond just appeasing the sexual needs of polygamous men. And also, if you ask me, polygamy is a sword waiting to devour all those who are playing with it. Allow me conclude with this. Anything which distorts the well-being of your mind, of your spouse, and of your kids is not worth pursuing. It's an enemy of your progress. Polygamy is more destructive than beneficial. Do not consider it as an option within your family. Thank you, friends, for listening in. Kindly share widely, for this is how we shall truly transform our societies through the family. God bless you. Catch you next week. Bye.